To Business Casual. I'm your host, Nav Nanwa. Before Business Casual ever existed on Rogers TV Peel, there was another business show here on the network, and it was called In Business, and it was hosted by my guest here today. He is the president and CEO of the Mississauga Board of Trade. Give it up for Mr. David Wojcik. David, thank you so much for joining me here on Business Casual. This interview is going to be very interesting because I feel like at some point you're going to be interviewing me.
Nav, it's great to be back in the studio, and yeah, you do get that after you do so many shows. You kind of take over the interview process. So, but I'm going to hold back here, and it's your show, so it's just great to be back in the studio.
Yeah, it's like a homecoming.
And see the whole crew back in the control room and chat with everybody.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone's still looking the same, just like as you remember, right?
Absolutely, no one's changed. No one's changed, not at all.
Awesome. But you know, what really astonished me, David, was when we were having this conversation before we got on air, was you did 220 episodes of In Business. It was a weekly show.
Yep.
Explain to me, how did In Business come about?
In Business all started, I was at a Mississauga Board of Trade networking event.
Okay.
And so we were at our table of 8, and we're networking, and they said, okay, now get up and network with the person at the next table.
Okay.
And I turned around, and the person sitting there was Patrick Corbett, who was the sponsorship coordinator for Rogers at the time. And I happened to say, I said, you know, I've got this idea for a business show, and why doesn't anybody do a business show in Mississauga?
Yeah.
And Patrick said, well, you know, David, it's a lot more work than people think it is. And at the time, you know, they were doing longer, more episodes in a series.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I've got this idea, and so we chatted about it. And he said, well, we're not looking for any shows right now, but maybe in the future. And 2 days later, he called me back and said, Jake loves the idea. You're going on air this coming September, and that was in January.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that's how it all came about. And I had never been on TV before, didn't know what it was all about. But I'll tell you, I got a lot of great experience.
That's excellent.
Doing a lot of different things.
You know, and if you think about it, you know, the business community here in Mississauga, as well as Brampton, I guess across Peel, it's come a long way.
It has,
in regards to just the amounts of businesses we now have operating in both cities, the amount of Fortune 500 companies that exist in Mississauga and in Brampton, the amount of entrepreneurs that are becoming successful. You know, what was it about profiling this community that really drove you to want to start in business?
What really when I started the show, it was more about education. I wanted to educate entrepreneurs on a number of different issues that were facing business people at the time. So we talked about all kinds of things, marketing and HR and unions, and I mean, the fun stuff. The topics were all over the place.
Yeah.
And people really enjoyed it. As I did more of the shows, and as you mentioned, we did a weekly show. We did 40 shows in a row, and then we would do encore performances all the way through the summer. So we were on the air 52 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
And the more I did the shows, the more I found out the phenomenal business people that we have right here in the city of Mississauga. And at the time, like yours, I was doing Peel.
Yeah.
So I was doing Peel region business people.
Yeah.
And I rapidly came to the conclusion that you never had to go outside of Peel region to find any kind of service that you wanted or any kind of great business person that you wanted. And we uncovered a lot of incredible business people that were right here in Peel region. So
actually, some of them have been guests here on Business Casual.
Yes.
You know, we actually were talking before we got on air. You know, there was Ryan Knight from Detailing Nights. There's T by Daniel Lewis, both alum, not only on In Business, but now on Business Casual. And you know, the one thing I love about just targeting the community and targeting, you know, the Peel region is everyone has like some type of story to the way they became an entrepreneur, or the way they got introduced to the world of business. And I love exploring that.
And that was one of the segments that we used to do on the show, was called How'd You Get Started? And at the time we would go out and shoot in the field, and we would do an interview with the business owner and get some B-roll and bring it back to the studio, and Joanne Davis would put it all together and make a nice little segment out of it. And in doing those kinds of interviews where people would see a successful entrepreneur and they would say, oh, well, you know, the person must have started off with $1 million, or they started off with a silver spoon in their mouth. and you really found that a lot of these a lot of these companies, as they call it, they say that we were a great overnight success. It only took 10 years to get there. And we uncovered some absolutely fantastic and amazing stories in the city of Mississauga and the city of Brampton.
Were there any episodes or any guests in particular that you just thought were very memorable, and or even have gone on to do amazing things?
There was one young fellow that struck me. It was an incredible story. He was, and hopefully while I tell the story, his name will come to me. But he was a young, he was 15 years old at the time, or 16 years old at the time, and he was an investment wizard.
Wow, really?
And he was doing things in the investment community that were just blowing people away. He had developed, he started at 9 years old, and he had developed a system or an algorithm that would be able to really, I can't say predict, but accurately track successful stocks in the market.
At 15 years old?
At 15, well, he started at 9, and he was on the show at 15 or 16 years old. And his parents came with him. They weren't on the show with him, but they were in the studio. And he had made them a pile of money. They wouldn't disclose how much it was. But I saw Marchese was his last name.
Okay.
Marchese was his last name. And I saw him I followed him on LinkedIn for a little bit, and he has an amazing career going on in the investment community now.
Wow.
So that was one story that that really struck me. Of course, the fellows from Awake Chocolate was another great story that launched in the city of Mississauga. Daniel from T by Daniel was, I mean, he's off the charts no matter what. He's
a branding wizard.
Absolutely. So all of these, and of course Ryan Knight and T by Daniel, I was fortunate enough to host the Brampton Business Awards one year, where they were co-winners, and I didn't know they were both winners until I got there. So it was like a big hug on stage, and I was taking some small part in their success, of course, because they were on my show.
Yeah, you have to.
But just a lot of incredible stories that we were able to uncover.
No, that's great. And Dave, I'm curious, what was your life before in business? Like, what was your business background, and how would you say your business skills have translated to or translated into the television industry? Because that's sort of we have some parallel stories, because I for one, I myself don't have any. I did not go to school for this, and I have a strong business background, but again, this just kind of came out of passion.
So my professional training's in finance. I spent a number of years as an accountant. Then I decided I don't like accounting.
You're too nice to me, finance.
Well, that depends on the day. And then I went into sales and marketing, and I've started a number of businesses. I've run businesses for other people, and prior to doing in business, I was the CEO of a company that sold industrial and commercial woodworking equipment, not the little ones you find in Rona, but the ones that a saw that would fill this studio.
Oh wow!
They were monster machines.
Wow.
And then I found myself in transition, and that's when I met Patrick, and we did the In Business show. And Rogers gave me such a great opportunity to touch so many parts of the business. And I said that when I went to Jake, so 2 weeks into when we went to air on the very first show, 2 weeks in, my producer was promoted into the news area, which they had at that time.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a producer. So I went to Jake and I said, Jake, listen, I think I'd like to produce a show. I don't have the technical aspect, but I think I can book people and I can write and things like that. And Jake said, fill your boots, man. If you want to do it, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I really credit Jake a lot for giving me the opportunity, because if we had walked into CTV or Global and said, hey, I want to produce a show, and they say, yeah, what experience do you have? Oh, none. They would have been calling security and escorting me out.
Yeah.
But that really gave me a lot of the groundwork to take the show national, which was my Biz TV Canada show.
Yeah, which was another thing I wanted, because I actually I told you I actually have seen you on Biz TV Canada. You covered actually an event that's close to my heart, which was the Canada's Next Top Ad Exec, which I was a finalist for in 2014. But what I loved about that was you were really highlighting some of the events that not only were taking place in Brampton, Mississauga, but all over.
Well, and that was the whole point to it, is it was supposed to be a national show. Of course, on the network, it's broadcast coast to coast.
Excellent.
And then I was very fortunate that we did some episodes on CBC on the West Coast and Global in Ontario. So we had some really nice exposure to that, and the show, of course, we didn't have a budget to travel coast to coast, but we did a lot of really nice things in Southern Ontario, and hooking up with McMaster University on Focus 2040 and Canada's Next Top Ad Exec. I mean, I saw some that really I used Focus 2040 and Canada's Next Top Ad Exec in some of the things that I talk about today.
That's great.
And I assure all of the stale pale males and senior citizens of the world that our future is in excellent hands if it's controlled by some of the students that I got to meet in those competitions.
Excellent. That's a very important endorsement. One thing I will say, Dave, is did you feel like at one point in business was sort of, or even Biz TV was like a brand new entrepreneurial venture for yourself?
It was. I mean, it's like a little business. That you're starting off the first year in business. Nobody really knew us. We weren't getting a lot of viewers. But after that first year, it was begging people to come on the show and trying to find topics. And at the time, I would research the topic. I would come up with the discussion points, and it was a lot of work. Second year, once people started to watch the show, then we had people coming to us, and PR firms found out about us.
Excellent.
So we had PR firms calling us to get their clients on the show.
That's great.
And then then I had the guests. I said, listen, you're the expert in this. Why don't you feed me some of the discussion points? So they would send me 10 discussion points, and then of course, as you know, you get more comfortable with the thing. And they would say, well, people would ask me, well, can you send me the questions? And I said, well, I'm not going to send you the questions, because depending on your answer, we may go down a different path. So that's how I got people to send it in. But going out and finding sponsors, we did that as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So we had a really nice show, and it was really gratifying when people would recognize me in the community, because the humble person that I am.
We do have to cut. Well, you are very humble. We do have to cut to commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk about your new role as the President, CEO of the Mississauga Board of Trade. Actually, you're almost now in the role for about a year.
Well, people keep thinking that's been just over 6 months. But
so after we'll talk more. I'm with Dave Wojcik from the Mississauga Board of Trade. We'll be right back after this brief commercial message. Welcome back to Business Casual. I'm your host, Nav Nanwa. I'm joined by the President and CEO of the Mississauga Board of Trade, Mr. David Wojcik. David, thank you so much for joining us here, as well as the previous host of In Business here on Rogers TV. I would say the business show before Business Casual, one that went 220 episodes strong. So definitely an honor to speak with you. So let's talk about the Mississauga Board of Trade.
Love to.
For me here on Business Casual, I've had the opportunity to talk with the NGen Committee. I had the opportunity to talk with the Masquerade Ball, which took place a couple weeks ago. But one thing I will say is that now that you've been president now for about 9 months.
Just 7, 8 months.
7, 8 months. How would you describe things for the Mississauga Board of Trade as of right now?
The Mississauga Board of Trade is it's an extremely vibrant Board of Trade, and right from the members are engaged. We've got great members. The team there is exceptional, and it's a fun business, Nav. I mean, it really is a fun business. You think about how many other businesses where where your customers, which are our members, the customers come to everything that they do happy, whether it's a committee meeting or an event or a networking event or it doesn't matter what they're doing. They're genuinely happy to be there because they're there to promote their business. They're there to make a difference. Everything's on a positive note. So that's why it's a great business to be in, and I'm extremely proud and to be the president and CEO there.
You know, having attended previous Mississauga Board of Trade events, including the networking ones, like you mentioned, they are pretty fun. They're not really, you know, we're not locked up in a closed room and you're forced to meet people. No. You know, we're in fun settings, we're at restaurants, and you know what I find about that is it allows people to let loose a little bit, but it allows them to really be more personal with the people around them, which is great.
Well, so you've been to the NGen events,
yes, I have.
And that's it's a casual atmosphere. We try to find a local pub to have them in, which is always nice. Of course, they're designed for the under 40 crowd.
Yes.
So I tease the older members. I say there's good news, bad news, because we're an inclusive organization. Yeah. You're welcome to go to the NGen events. Yeah. I said the bad news is they start at 11 o'clock at night, so you may not be able to stay awake long enough to go to them. But then we launched GEM, which is Good Evening Mississauga, and that's for everyone.
Excellent.
Same type of format where it's in a local bar. The first one we have was at Stir Beverage and Kitchen, which is a brand new spot that's just opened up. Had a fantastic time, 120 people coming out. I mean, as we promote it, where can you go and make 120 cold calls in a couple of hours?
Exactly.
So it's we're really happy with the turnout, and we're really pleased with the way NGen gets about 100 people out as well.
Yeah.
And all of the networking events are just chugging along wonderfully.
What would you say is the defining factor of the Mississauga Board of Trade in the services it provides? Because like you mentioned, it seems like the Mississauga Board of Trade does a lot for their members, and the members really love being a part of the organization. Right. And it's something that they're really proud to advocate for as well. And what would you say is the one thing that I guess the Mississauga Board of Trade does differently versus other chambers?
Well, first of all, the mandate for all chambers of commerce around the world, from the time of inception, the first Chamber of Commerce was founded in 1599 in Marseille, France.
Okay.
And the only mandate that they had was to advocate for business against government.
Okay.
That was all they did.
Yeah.
And that still remains to be a key focus for us at the chambers of commerce around the world. There's no difference between Chamber of Commerce and Board of Trade.
Yeah.
They're interchangeable.
Yeah, exactly.
So we seem to be we're known sometimes better for the networking events that we do, but there's really a tremendous amount of work that still goes on in the background on the advocacy level for business at the city level, the regional level, the Ontario level, and the Canadian level. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and we do make a difference. We make a difference at those levels. For instance, is the ORPP with the Ontario Registered Pension Plan.
Yeah.
Businesses were not happy with that, and so we were successful through lobbying through the Ontario Chamber of Commerce to have that ORPP delayed one full year to 2018 while they did more research on it, and also to have a lot of the plans accepted by the Ontario government.
Excellent.
So those are the kinds of things that they're more in the background.
Yeah.
They're probably not the. I mean, they're very, very interesting.
Yes.
Not as exciting as a networking event, but certainly very important for business.
But that advocacy piece, David, is very important because sometimes businesses feel like they're not getting the support that they need from a city or from a part of the city that they live in, whether it be a jurisdiction. And sometimes they don't know where to turn with their concerns, and having the Board of Trade available to them is very important.
And members get to make a difference in what is proposed to the Ontario government and the Canadian government, because what we do is. We have a policy committee, and they actually develop resolutions, and the resolutions go to both the Ontario Chamber and the Canadian Chamber, and those are the resolutions that the premise is based on what those organizations lobby the government for. So a small business owner here in the city of Mississauga or the city of Brampton through their local Chamber of Commerce and Board of Trade, they can make a difference for their profession and their industry.
That's awesome.
And on the larger businesses, they come at it from a three-prong approach. So if they have an issue, they will employ a couple of their other associations plus the Board of Trade, and they say, well, let's attack government from three sides. And it works.
It's like an ambush.
It does. It works.
You know, I want to get your opinion, David, on the development of the, I guess, the business community within Mississauga. And, you know, you touched on the fact that, you know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in this community, but there's also a lot of Fortune 500 companies.
Yes.
And just the roles that everyone's playing in really developing the business culture here. And just where do you see it going in the future?
Well, the city plays a very important part through the Economic Development Office, headed up by Susan Amring.
Yeah.
And they play a very important part for attracting foreign investment.
Yes.
And that's what Susan and Harold Drennan do. That's their main focus, is bringing businesses to the city of Mississauga, setting up, creating great jobs for the residents of not just the city of Mississauga, but Peel Region and beyond.
Yeah.
So that's their focus. The Board of Trade's focus is to help the businesses once they get here. So
exactly.
we liken ourselves, we're the welcome wagon for business. So once they get here, we help them get settled, we help them get acquainted in the business community, we introduce them to other businesses in the community.
Excellent.
And help them connect. So that's the functions of the two organizations. Where the city is going and the region is going is really phenomenal. We have the #1 food service cluster right here in the city of Mississauga, in anywhere in Canada.
Yeah.
We have a great pharmaceutical sector. We've got a tremendous advanced manufacturing sector. We've got two great educational institutions with UTM and with Sheridan College, which has an amazing campus at Davis that's doing phenomenal work on robotics.
Oh, for sure.
Up there, which is supported by ABB. Just throughout the whole region, I feel at times, Nav, that the region and the two great cities of Brampton and Mississauga, they're bubbling. Like they're just bubbling with excitement and enthusiasm and great things that are going to happen in both cities. And business is going to be the one, is going to be what drives it.
You know, just on that, Dave, I'd love to get your thoughts on just some public policy and just, you know, the fact that recently, you know, at City Council, there was a discussion around Mississauga possibly leaving the region of Peel and maybe assessing that, whether it's worthwhile or not. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, it's an interesting topic, Nav. The Board of Trade doesn't have an official position on it right now because we want to wait and see what the what does the report.
Exactly.
And really, that's all it is. I mean, this has been something that's been going on since 2003, and a report came out in 2005, and now through council they've said, well, let's study it again. And the rationale behind it, it makes sense. Is there duplication of services? Can we save some money? But there's also the flip side of it, is if the city of Mississauga leaves the region of Peel, then they take over things like social housing, they take over things like the health department, and you know, we have to negotiate a contract with Peel Region Police. So there's a lot of moving parts.
There is, definitely.
To this. Really, what we are looking for, we're looking for how does this benefit the business community?
Exactly.
Because if the business community benefits from it, the entire community benefits from it. So we're really, you know, we are always happy to sit at the table with council and with the mayor and provide our input at the mayor's request. And so far, they haven't even decided whether they're I think they're at the stage where they're doing a report to decide if they're doing a report. So we still are a long way from it.
Exactly.
And the key factor that we all have to realize is that there's still a debate about whether council even has the authority to do this, because the Municipalities Act is controlled by the province.
Yes.
So there's a lot of groundwork that still has to be done here before we even get to the stage of whether the city of Mississauga is going to leave or not.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that you touched on that's really good is the fact that, you know, if that decision was being considered, it's just really important to engage the businesses, because ultimately they're the ones putting money into these cities.
And And sometimes, the business community does slip into the background in some communities, not in the city of Mississauga, not in the city of Brampton. The city of Mississauga does engage the business community because after all, those are the people, those are the entrepreneurs and the business owners that are providing jobs. The business community contributes heavily through taxes to keep residential taxes lower. So the business community really does foster a vibrant community.
Excellent. David, we only have less than a minute left. I do want to get your thoughts on what's your overall vision for the Mississauga Board of Trade during your tenure as president?
Well, through my work with Canada's Next Top Ad Exec and Focus 2040, my vision, my long-term vision, I don't know if I'll ever see it, but my vision is to create a Board of Trade with the help of young entrepreneurs and young business people. I want to know, what do they want to see their Board of Trade or Chamber of Commerce look like in the year 2040? That's my big question for them.
Wow, that's very, and I think that's, now that we're seeing a lot more younger entrepreneurs get involved with Board of Trades, I think you'll definitely get to that vision.
And I'm looking forward. We're engaging secondary school students, post-secondary school students. They even have an entrepreneurial program in kindergarten in the Peel Separate School Board, which I found absolutely phenomenal.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Dave, I want to thank you again for joining us here on Business Casual.
Anytime.
David Wojcik, who is the president and CEO of the Mississauga Board of Trade, as well as the legendary host of In Business here on Rogers TV Peel. Thank you so much for joining us here on Business Casual. We'll be right back after this brief message here on Rogers TV.